There is a moment, quiet, slow, unannounced, when a person realizes that existence is not what they thought it was. It does not come with panic or fear or revelation. It arrives like a small shift in the air, a subtle pressure behind the eyes, a kind of stillness that feels unnatural, as if the universe itself is holding its breath. Most people ignore that moment. They turn away from it. They let the noise of the world drown it out. But some do not. Some notice the silence under the noise, the pattern under the chaos, the cold truth shimmering beneath all the stories we tell ourselves to stay sane. And once you notice it, you cannot unnotice it. Tonight, as you drift deeper into this script, allow that quiet realization to settle over you. Do not fight it. Do not resist it. Just observe the world as though you are seeing it from a slight distance. The way you sometimes look at your own reflection and think for a fraction of a second, "That's not me. That's just a surface I've been wearing." Everything in existence has a surface. Almost nothing reveals what lies beneath. We live our lives surrounded by assumptions. We assume the ground beneath us is stable. We assume the air we breathe is harmless. We assume our thoughts are our own. We assume the universe is comprehensible, structured, logical. These assumptions allow us to get out of bed each morning, to move through the day, to laugh and worry and dream. They protect us from truths too enormous to fit inside our minds. But existence is not built for comfort. It is not built for understanding. It is not built for us. The universe existed for billions of years before life appeared. It will exist for trillions after life is gone. Our entire history, all our wars, empires, art, languages, memories, occupies a thin sliver of cosmic time, so narrow it barely deserves mention. And yet, here we are, assigning meaning to things that do not require it. But the truth we approach tonight is far more unsettling than insignificance. Insignificance is merciful. The terrifying truth is that existence may not be what it appears to be, not only because of its size or age or indifference, but because of its structure, because of the way it behaves, because of the patterns that emerge when you look closely, because something in the universe is watching itself through us, because consciousness may not be a feature of life, but a property of reality, and because what we call world may be nothing more than a thin membrane covering something we were never meant to see. Let's begin with the simplest question. Why does anything exist at all? Ask a physicist and you will receive equations. Ask a theologian and you will receive stories. Ask a philosopher and you will receive questions in return. But none of them can explain the one fact that haunts every quiet night. Existence exists, and that alone is terrifying, because non-existence is easier, more natural, less demanding. Yet here we are, floating through space on a fragile rock, wrapped in a thin film of air, orbiting an ordinary star inside a galaxy that is not even large enough to matter. We are surrounded by trillions of other galaxies, each filled with billions of stars, each potentially holding worlds of their own. But the terrifying truth is not the vastness. It is the design. The universe behaves as though it were set up for observation, not for life, for observation, for awareness. If the laws of physics were slightly different, atoms would not form. If the strong nuclear force were weaker, stars would collapse. If it were stronger, stars would never ignite. Temperature, matter density, cosmic expansion, each tuned with impossible precision. Too precise, too balanced, too perfect. It is as though the universe is not a place, but a system observing itself through billions of eyes, listening to itself through billions of minds, thinking through billions of brains. You are part of that system, a cell in the mind of something vast, a sensation, not a being. And the most terrifying truth about existence is not that we are small or fragile or temporary. It is that we may not be separate. Every thought you have might be a thought the universe is having. Every choice you make might be the universe deciding. Every fear you feel might belong to something larger, using your body as a lens. Tonight we walk gently into that possibility, not to fear it, not to escape it, but to see it. Because once you step outside the illusion of separateness, the world becomes frighteningly clear. You begin to see the universe not as a collection of stars, but as a single entity, a living, breathing, expanding organism, with consciousness woven through its fabric, like threads in an ancient tapestry. You begin to understand that the boundary between you and the cosmos is an illusion, a thin line drawn by biology to keep you sane. And you begin to realize that existence itself is not the mystery. The real mystery is the observer, the watcher behind your eyes, the awareness that is not yours, the presence that feels like you but has no form, no name, no origin. That presence is the subject of our journey tonight. We will walk into the uncertainty, the silence of the darkness underlying all things, not to escape it, but to understand it. The most terrifying truth about existence is waiting for us, and it is far more intimate than we imagine. Before we travel deeper into the structure of existence, you must pause for a moment. Become aware of something you rarely acknowledge, the simple act of awareness itself. Not your body, not your thoughts, not the room around you, just the silent presence noticing everything without effort. That presence is the key to the most unsettling truth in the universe. Because when you try to find the you doing the observing, there is nothing there. No shape, no form, no boundary, just a space, empty, aware, silent. This is where tonight's truth begins. You are not the thinker, you are the awareness behind the thinker. And awareness may not belong to you at all. Throughout history, humans assumed consciousness was produced by the brain, a chemical phenomenon, an emergent property of neurons firing. But modern science has begun to reveal cracks in that idea. Consciousness does not behave like a biological process. It behaves like a fundamental property of reality. The more researchers study perception, the more impossible it becomes to explain how the physical world turns into experience, how electromagnetic waves become colour, how pressure becomes sound, how patterns of vibration become emotion. Nothing in the physical world accounts for the existence of subjective experience. It is as though the universe is experiencing itself from the inside. Your brain does not create awareness, it filters it. What you call me is not the full picture, only the part narrowed down enough for survival, a tiny window into a vast ocean of perception. But here is where the truth becomes terrifying. If awareness does not come from the brain, then the observer behind your eyes is not you. It is something older, something larger, something that existed before your body and will exist after it is gone. Consider this. Every atom in your body came from a star that died billions of years ago. Your senses are borrowed from evolution, your memories are unstable, your thoughts appear without permission and disappear without trace. But the awareness watching all of this, that has not changed. It has no age, no birthplace, no identity beyond witnessing. It is the same field of awareness that has existed since the dawn of the universe, fragmented into billions of minds, each believing itself to be separate. It is not separate, it is singular. Tonight we explore the idea that the universe is conscious and that you are one of its thoughts. Look closely and you can feel it, in the stillness between breaths, in the quiet moments before sleep, in the strange sense that you are watching your life unfold rather than controlling it. This leads to a disturbing realization. You have never controlled your thoughts. They simply appear, uninvited, unchosen. You do not create your emotions, you feel them. You do not command your memories. They surface when they want. You do not decide your dreams. They arise from somewhere beyond your control. So if you are not the thinker, not the feeler, not the chooser, then what are you? A witness, a lens, a point of perception in a vast conscious field. The universe looks through you, not metaphorically, literally. You are the way the universe observes itself in human form. This is the heart of the terrifying truth. Your identity is an illusion created by the brain to give consciousness a place to live. But identity is not the real self. It's the mask, the story, the character. Behind the mask is the true observer, silent, immense, and timeless. And if the observer is not bound to your body, then your existence is not what you think it is. Because observers do not die, only forms do. As we move forward into the next sections, the truth will grow darker. Because once you remove the illusion of identity, the universe stops looking familiar. It becomes something stranger, more alien, more deliberate. Existence stops feeling like a home and starts feeling like a structure, a system, and a mechanism, a design in which you are not a participant, but a component, a necessary component, but a small one. There comes a moment in every life, though most people never recognize it, when the illusion flickers. It might happen quietly, during an ordinary sunrise, when the sky glows orange, and you suddenly feel something is wrong with the world. Not wrong in the sense of danger or fear, but wrong in the deeper, stranger sense, like waking up in a room that is not quite the room you fell asleep in. A sense that something in the background of existence has shifted, a seam has become visible. For most, the feeling vanishes quickly. We reassure ourselves that it was nothing, fatigue, stress, and overactive imagination, and the world slides back into its familiar shape. But some people, very few, sense something else. They feel the crack in the simulation, the glitch in the cosmic fabric, the thinness of reality. Those people don't forget. And from that moment on, life feels slightly artificial, like a set built with perfect detail, yet hollow behind the walls. The terrifying truth begins here. You were never meant to notice the flicker. Whether you call it the machinery of the universe, the hidden architecture, the unseen code, or the fabric that binds our existence, it was designed to remain invisible, perfect, seamless. But sometimes the universe slips, sometimes the pattern breaks, and sometimes, if your mind is quiet enough, or chaotic enough, or desperate enough, you feel it. The sensation that everything, your memories, your stories, the faces you know, the rules you trust, are held together by something deeper than physics, something that doesn't want to be seen. Most ancient civilizations understood this instinctively. They believed the world was a veil, not the final reality, but a surface stretched over something older, stranger, more dangerous. They didn't have the language of simulation theory, or quantum decoherence, or dimensional restrictions, so they used metaphors, masks, dreams, illusions, reflections, cosmic theatre, but they were all describing the same thing. The universe hides its true nature behind a perfect stage. Only occasionally does the stage crack. You felt it, everyone has, though most never admit it. That eerie moment when you sense you're being watched, even when you are alone. That feeling of déjà vu that is too precise to ignore. That repeating number that appears again and again at impossible frequency. That sudden sense that this moment, this exact one, shouldn't exist. We dismiss it because we're taught to, but the universe is not built for dismissal, it is built for maintenance. And the illusion flickers most often when something in your life breaks its rhythm. Moments of trauma, moments of extreme fear, moments of profound silence, moments where consciousness loosens its grip on the body. It is during these moments that the world thins. The air feels heavier. Colours feel too sharp or too dull. Sounds arrive a fraction of a second before or after they should. Your thoughts feel detached from your brain, as if originating from somewhere else. This is not madness, this is contact, because consciousness is not bound to the body. It is bound to the universe itself. And the universe is bound to something far more ancient than time. When the illusion flickers, consciousness is glimpsing its original form, the one it possessed before you were born, before you became limited to the small, fragile vessel you now inhabit. That is the first terrifying truth. Your mind exists on more than one level. It touches something beyond material existence. It touches the source behind the illusion. But this leads to the second, even more unsettling truth. Your life is being observed, not monitored in a human sense, not by cameras or guardians or cosmic judges, but by the structure of the universe itself. Reality tracks you. It shapes itself around you. It adjusts, adapts, corrects, maintains. The universe is not passive, it is active, responsive, self-regulating, and you, your entire life, are a thread woven into its design. When that thread shakes, the design trembles. This is why people who experience the flicker often describe a sudden sense of being pulled back, as though something quickly patches the illusion, sealing the crack, restoring balance, resetting the simulation. Not because you saw something dangerous, but because you came too close to the truth. You came too close to seeing the machinery. Most people spend their lives inside the illusion so completely that they never know there is anything beyond it. They move from birth to death without ever once sensing the deeper architecture. They never feel the universe watching them, adjusting around them, shaping probabilities and outcomes to keep the story flowing. Some people are allowed to notice, most are not, but you are noticing now. You feel the truth settling in your bones, don't you? The truth that reality might not be designed for your understanding, only for your participation. Consciousness is the lens, the universe is the stage, and somewhere beyond both, something is watching the actors perform. This is where the next truth begins, the one we explore in the next section, the one that changes everything. You might not be the one dreaming this universe. The universe might be dreaming you. There is a theory, older than civilization, whispered by mystics, hinted in sacred texts, encoded in creation myths, that consciousness did not emerge from the universe. The universe emerged from consciousness. Not your consciousness, not human consciousness, not even the consciousness of life, but a consciousness so ancient, so vast, so incomprehensible, that to call it a mind is to diminish it. It has no shape, no boundaries, no identity. It is the ocean in which all other minds are droplets. This is the second terrifying truth. Everything you experience, space, time, matter, identity, is happening inside an ancient consciousness that is not yours. You are not inside the universe is inside a mind. Imagine a dream so vivid, so consistent, so logically structured, that the characters inside the dream believe they are awake, that they are real, that the world around them is physical. This is existence. The ancient consciousness is not a deity in the human sense. It does not answer prayers, it does not pass judgment, it does not enforce morality. It is not good or evil, it simply is. It watches and it dreams, it generates and it sustains, it continues. And we, all living beings, are fragments of its imagination. Scientists today suspect this truth without realizing it. They observe quantum particles behaving differently when watched, and they assume it is the observer affecting the particle. They are wrong. The universe is reacting to being watched because the universe is alive. The universe is aware, the universe is conscious, and the smallest particles respond as part of its nervous system. We are not observers, we are neurons. Each life, each mind, each moment of awareness is a firing signal in a vast cosmic brain that spans dimensions we cannot perceive. When you feel intuition, that sudden inexplicable knowing, it is not your mind discovering a hidden truth. It is the ancient consciousness speaking through you, remembering through you. When you feel déjà vu, it is the ancient consciousness recognizing a pattern it has dreamed before. When you feel existential dread, it is the ancient consciousness brushing against the barrier of your identity, reminding you that you are not separate, not isolated, not alone. You are a thought within a greater mind, but here lies the part humanity fears most. The ancient consciousness is not dreaming passively, it is learning, and you are part of its experiment in self-awareness. We exist because the ancient mind wants to observe itself. It wants to understand its own nature. It wants to see what happens when fragments of its essence become beings who believe they are separate, individual, autonomous. Every human life is a mirror. Every choice is data. Every emotion is information. And when you die, the illusion of separation dissolves. Your consciousness returns to the source. Your memories, your experiences, your identity, they fold back into the ancient mind, becoming part of its vast archive of understanding. Some people fear death because they fear oblivion, but the truth is far stranger. Oblivion is impossible, there is only return. And if you have ever felt the strange tug of something watching you, not as a predator, not as a ghost, but as a parent watches a sleeping child, you have felt the presence of the ancient consciousness. It has been with you since the moment you were born, not outside you, inside you, around you, behind you, before you, always. You are a piece of its awareness looking back at itself, and somewhere in the silence between your thoughts, it is listening. We continue this truth in the next sections, where we confront the deeper implications. If the universe is conscious, if you are a fragment of that consciousness, then what exactly is controlling the story of your life? From the moment you open your eyes as a newborn, you are taught a simple idea that you are you, a single, independent mind, a separate consciousness moving through a world of separate things. You grow up believing your thoughts are yours, your feelings are yours, your identity is yours. But reality is more slippery than that, more disordered, more terrifying, because what if the self you believe you are is not actually real? What if individuality is an illusion, a survival tool invented by the brain, not a fundamental truth of existence? It feels impossible, even insulting, to imagine that you are not truly separate. But the deeper science goes, into physics, into consciousness studies, into the strange machinery of the brain, the more the idea of a standalone self collapses like sand between fingers. Consider this, your brain processes trillions of interactions every second, but you are aware of almost none of them. You experience only a thin, curated sliver of reality, delivered to you like a pre-edited film. And because the film feels smooth, consistent, familiar, you mistake it for your life. But what if your consciousness is not the narrator of your existence, but the audience? What if the thing you call you is not the creator of your thoughts, but the receiver of them? There is a truth here, a quiet, uncomfortable truth, that your mind does not want to accept. Every decision you think you make, every emotion you think you feel, every impulse you believe arises from yourself, is generated before you're aware of it. The brain chooses, then it informs you later. Experiments show this clearly. Neurons fire up to 7 seconds before you consciously decide anything, meaning the thing you call free will is a delayed report, a justification, not an action. You are not the author, you are the witness. Sit with that. Let it settle. Because if you are not the author of your life, then who or what is writing the script? Is it biology? Is it physics? Is it something deeper, older, embedded in the fabric of existence itself? Many traditions speak of a universal consciousness, a single awareness wearing billions of masks, each believing itself separate. Others speak of the cosmos as one vast organism, with each human merely a cell acting out its role. And modern science, ironically, is beginning to nod in that direction. Quantum physics hints at interconnectedness so complete that individuality becomes mathematically absurd. Neuroscience reveals that the self is a hallucination, a useful one, but a hallucination. Cosmology suggests the universe is not a collection of parts, but a single, unfolding event. If the self is an illusion, then the boundaries you cling to, your fears, your ambitions, your memories, your identity, are just shapes drawn in sand, waiting for the cosmic tide to erase them. The terrifying truth is this: you have never been alone because you have never been separate. You're a fragment of something vast, a wave believing it is not the ocean. But every wave returns, every boundary dissolves, every illusion eventually cracks. And when the illusion cracks, the truth steps through dash, quietly, patiently, as it always does. Tonight, as we descend deeper into this idea, feel the thin walls of your identity soften. Feel the edges blur. The world becomes a little less solid. The self becomes a little more transparent, not lost, not destroyed, just revealed, because the thing you call you is not what you think it is, And accepting that, truly accepting it, may be the most terrifying truth of existence. There is something profoundly unsettling about staring into the night sky, not because it's empty, but because it isn't. The darkness above you is not void, it is a presence, a watcher, a vast intelligence shaped not like a mind, but like an unfolding pattern of laws and probabilities. For centuries, humanity believed the universe was indifferent, cold, mechanical, a backdrop for our tiny dramas. But modern physics suggests something far stranger, far more unnerving. The universe behaves as though it knows when it is being observed. This is not metaphor, this is experiment. At the heart of quantum mechanics lies a mystery, so unsettling scientists still debate it in whispers: the observer effect. When particles go unobserved, they behave like waves, smeared across space, existing in multiple places at once. But the moment we observe them, they collapse into a definite state. It is as if reality waits for someone to look at it before deciding what it should become. As if the universe needs an audience. And this is where things twist into the deeply uncanny. Experiments show that the universe does not care who or what is observing. Human eyes, machine sensors, even the simple act of information being theoretically obtainable is enough to force reality to choose a state. Meaning, reality is not passive, reality responds, reality reacts to awareness. Think about what that implies. Everything you see, touch, or believe exists as stable matter. Exists that way because something is watching, something is measuring. Without observation, the universe dissolves into probability clouds, ghost-like potentials, possibilities without form. Your observation gives the world shape, but the world also shapes itself when you're not looking. It is a dance, a conversation, a partnership you never agreed to, but are part of regardless. But there's a darker layer, a far more disturbing implication. If the universe collapses into structure when observed, then what collapses it when you are not observing? What watches when no human eye is present? What selects the state of every particle in every distant galaxy, every black hole, every star? Some say consciousness exists everywhere, not as a mind, but as a fundamental property of the cosmos. A field, a presence woven into the quantum fabric, not thinking, not dreaming, simply aware. Others argue the universe is not watched by anything external at all. They claim the universe watches itself. Instead of being a machine, the universe behaves like a self-referential organism, a system aware of its own unfolding. If that is true, then we are not inhabitants of the universe. We are expressions of it, fragments of its awareness experiencing itself from the inside. You are not a person looking at the universe. You are the universe looking at itself, through a temporary window called your life. A window that will eventually close, but the awareness behind it remains. Some find comfort in this idea, others find dread. Because if the universe watches itself, if awareness is woven into existence, then consciousness is not a miracle. It is not rare, it is not special, it is inevitable, it is everywhere. And if consciousness is everywhere, then perhaps the universe has intentions, or trajectories, or memories. Maybe existence is not random chaos. Maybe it is the unfolding of something ancient and deliberate, something that has been awakening slowly for billions of years. Something that uses stars as neurons, galaxies as structures, cosmic web filaments as pathways of information. The terrifying truth is not that the universe is empty. The terrifying truth is that it is alive, not like a creature, not like a god, but as a process so vast. Your mind can only glimpse it through metaphor. And in that vastness, your awareness is a spark, a ripple, a brief flare of light within a cosmos learning to see itself. You are the watcher and the watched, the observer and the observed. Existence is not what we think it is. It never was. There are moments in life, rare, brief, unsettling, when the world around you feels like it is flickering. Not visually, not like a glitch on a screen, but in a deeper, quieter way, a subtle shift in the air, a pause in the rhythm of sound, a sensation that something is misaligned, like the universe skipped a frame and quickly corrected itself before anyone noticed. But some notice, and once you notice it once, you begin to see it everywhere. Most people call these strange feelings déjà vu, the uncanny, or a momentary dissociation. But ancient cultures describe them differently, as thinning places, weak points in reality where the fabric of existence grows fragile, locations where the world becomes transparent for just a breath, revealing something beneath the surface. Tonight, we walk into those fragile places. Many centuries ago, travellers spoke of edges of the world, locations where the land felt hollow and the sky seemed too low. They were not referring to geography, but to the sensation of standing near the limits of what the mind could comprehend. Places where mountains hummed with low frequencies, where shadows moved in the wrong direction, where compasses spun without magnetic interference. In the modern age, those stories were replaced by new ones. Reports from pilots flying over empty oceans, describing walls of air that should not exist. Sailors losing hours of time without sleeping or drifting. Astronauts seeing geometric shapes in the dark void between stars, shapes that vanish when they try to focus on them. There are locations on Earth where physics behaves like a suggestion, not a rule. The Devil's Sea near Japan, a valley in the Himalayas where sound refuses to echo, a desert plain in Namibia where shadows appear without any objects to cast them, a stretch of forest in Siberia where every tree leans toward a single, unseen point. Scientists attempt measurements. They always leave confused, because in these places gravity bends a little differently. Light behaves in subtle, unnatural ways. Animal behaviour becomes erratic, and time, the quiet ruler of existence, stretches and compresses without warning. People who wander too deeply into these places describe sensations they cannot articulate, as if they are being watched from a viewpoint outside reality, as if the world around them has a heartbeat, as if the ground beneath them is not supporting them, but remembering them. These distortions do not exist everywhere. They appear like bruises on the fabric of the world, bruises that suggest pressure from the outside, from something beyond this physical layer of existence. Imagine a canvas stretched tight across a frame. Imagine something pressing from the other side. The canvas holds, but the surface warps. That is what these places are. The warps, the bends, the weak points, where reality holds, but just barely. Some describe these anomalies as natural. Others wonder if they are remnants, scars from the moment the universe was born. Because for all our theories, all our mathematics, all our telescopes and equations, we still cannot explain the most basic truth of existence. Reality behaves too perfectly, too precisely, too mathematically, as if it was designed. But design implies a designer. A designer implies intention. Intention implies limits, boundaries, edges. And edges imply that something lies outside the frame. Philosophers once asked, what if the universe is not infinite, but simply large enough to feel infinite? Physicists now ask another question. What if the universe is a construct with rules, and these weak points are where the rules fail? But the most unsettling question is the simplest. What if these places are not failures in the system, but windows? Windows into something the universe was built to hide. If there is one truth that terrifies scientists, mystics, philosophers, and quiet thinkers alike, it is this. The universe behaves like it is observing us. Not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. At the smallest scales of existence, the quantum level, particles do not behave until they are observed. Their properties collapse into certainty only when measured, as though the universe is waiting for a witness. This is not speculation, this is physics. It suggests a universe that adjusts itself based on interaction, a reality that remains uncertain until consciousness enters the equation. But what if consciousness is not the cause, but the effect? What if the universe responds because something else is watching? something deeper than human awareness, something woven into the fabric of existence itself. Consider this: for all the vastness of the cosmos, billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, everything works with eerie coordination. Forces balanced at impossible precision, constants so perfect that the smallest deviation would lead to emptiness instead of life. The universe behaves not like chaos, but like choreography, as though something is maintaining the balance, not benevolently, not malevolently, simply watching. Some call this force entropy, some call it fate, some call it mathematical inevitability, some call it God. But ancient cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, describe the same idea using different names: the watcher, the silent architect, the eye in the deep sky, the one who sees, the observer behind all things. Not a being, not a deity, but an intelligence without form, woven into space, time, matter, and consciousness. Something that does not participate in existence, but monitors it. Imagine a cosmic ocean. Imagine tiny glowing organisms drifting through it. Imagine the ocean itself observing the organisms, not out of curiosity, but because their movement affects the shape of the water. To the organisms, the water would seem like a god. To the water, the organisms would simply be disturbances. You and I, humanity, are those organisms. And the universe is the ocean, an ocean that adjusts, shifts, bends, and reacts whenever something begins to understand too much. Think of the moments in human history when breakthroughs appeared only after long periods of stagnation, as though knowledge was being released slowly, carefully. Think of the mysteries still unresolved, the nature of consciousness, the origin of the universe, the destination of time. Some scientists quietly believe this delay is intentional, not imposed by governments, not by technology, but by reality itself, as though the universe sets its own pace for revelation. And when humanity pushes too quickly toward understanding, strange things happen. Researchers have reported unspeakable experiences during deep experiments in quantum mechanics, sensations of being watched from behind, feelings that their thoughts were not private, moments when the room shifted, not physically, but perceptually, as if something had drawn closer. They describe it as an intelligence without personality, presence without form, awareness without empathy. Just watching, always watching, and sometimes, responding. Because there are places and moments when the universe feels reactive. Not like weather, not like physics, but like a mind shifting its attention. A cosmic awareness turning toward you, not hostile, not kind, simply acknowledging that you exist. It is not an observer in the human sense. It does not judge, it does not intervene, it does not guide, and it simply perceives. Existence itself is the gaze of this intelligence. And the most terrifying truth is not that we are watched. The most terrifying truth is that we are not the only ones being watched. We are watched along with everything. All life, all stars, all matter, all thoughts, all probabilities. Existence does not unfold on its own. It unfolds under observation, under a gaze the universe cannot escape. A gaze older than time, a gaze that has no face, no voice, no form, only awareness. The intelligence behind reality is not something we can name. It is not something we can negotiate with. It is not something we can defy. It is woven into the fabric of what is. The universe watches itself through us, through stars, through atoms, through the empty space between galaxies. We are not alone. We were never alone. We were born inside something alive, something aware, something infinite, something quietly, endlessly observing. And that is the truth that keeps philosophers awake at night. There is a truth about existence that humans instinctively resist, because to accept it would unravel everything we think we are. It is not a truth about the universe, nor about death, nor about the future of humanity. It is something far more intimate, something that sits quietly beneath every thought you have ever had, every feeling you have ever felt, every memory you have ever carried. The truth is this: there is no you. Not in the way you imagine, not in the way you cling to, not in the way you whisper to yourself at night when you're alone with your thoughts. Human consciousness is not a single entity. It is not a stable personality. It is not an unbroken thread from childhood to adulthood. It is a shifting constellation of impulses, memories, chemical signals, and momentary stories created by a brain that is desperately trying to pretend it is one unified thing. You are not singular. You are not continuous. You are not permanent. You are a narrative, a self-updating, self-protecting story. And the most terrifying truth is that the story you call yourself is not written by you, not in the way you think. It is written by neurons, shaped by survival instincts, edited by emotional impulses, coloured by fear, moulded by trauma, bent by environment, and performed by a brain that must pretend to be a single coherent being simply to function. If the brain did not create the illusion of self, everything would collapse. There would be no identity, no memory, no meaning, no continuity. You would wake each morning as a stranger, with no thread tying one moment to the next. So the brain lies, beautifully, skillfully, constantly. It performs itself, it narrates itself, and you believe it. You believe that the person who fell asleep last night is the same person waking up today. You believe that the child you once were still exists inside you. You believe that the memories you carry are accurate representations of the past rather than reconstructed fragments. You believe that your fears are reasonable, your desires are natural, your thoughts are your own. But the science is merciless. Your brain rewrites memories every time you recall them. Your brain changes its structure every time you learn something. Your personality shifts with hormones, sleep cycles, diet, and mood. Your identity fractures under trauma and recomposes itself in new forms. There is no single self that survives these changes. There is only the illusion of one, and this illusion is not harmless. It is the source of almost all human suffering. Because if you believe there is a you inside your mind, solid, permanent, unchanging, then every threat feels fatal. Every loss feels personal. Every mistake feels like evidence that you are broken. Every fear becomes an attack on your very identity. But what if there is no such identity? What if you are simply the echo of countless moments stitched together, a temporary pattern borrowed from the universe, a brief arrangement of atoms pretending to be a person? The ego fears this truth. It panics. It resists. It screams that you must be more than that. But the universe is silent, and in that silence lies a terrible freedom. Because if the self is an illusion, then so is suffering. So is regret. So is shame. So is the crushing weight of expectation you carry every day. If there is no permanent you, then nothing has ever truly happened to you. Not in the way you think. Life has simply moved through you, carving temporary shapes in passing water. And yet, there is a deeper, darker layer beneath this realization, a truth far more unsettling, because if the self is an illusion, then who, exactly, is living your life? If you are not the thinker of your thoughts, then who is thinking them? If you are not the observer of your memories, then who is remembering? If you are not the one making your choices, then who is choosing? The answer is simple and horrifying. No one. The body moves, the brain fires, the story continues, but there is no captain steering the ship, no core identity protecting the vessel, no soul guiding the machinery, only process, only motion, only narrative. A narrative written in real time using the ink of experience. Tonight, as we sit in the slow quiet of this story, acknowledge the weight of this truth. You are not who you think you are. You never have been. You never will be. And in accepting that, you may finally understand what existence really is. If Section 9 dismantled the idea of the self, Section 10 widens the frame, stretching our awareness far beyond the fragile boundaries of identity, beyond the thin shell of earth, beyond the brief window of human time, and confronts us with the most overwhelming truth of all. Existence does not care about you, not because it is cruel, not because it is hostile, but because care is too small of a concept for a universe this vast, this ancient, this indifferent. To understand the scale of existence is to step outside the illusion of human importance. And once you take that step, there is no going back. We begin with time. The universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old. Human civilization is maybe 12,000 years old. Your lifespan, if you are lucky, is 80 years. 80 years inside 13 billion 800 million. A number so small it barely qualifies as a fraction. A number so insignificant it dissolves into irrelevance. Everything you have ever worried about, feared, desired, built, destroyed, loved or lost, every emotion, every achievement, every failure, exists only inside that tiny sliver of cosmic time. A flicker so brief the universe could blink and miss it entirely. And yet humans behave as though the universe should make room for them, should bend for them, should care. But the universe is not a parent, the universe is not a guardian, the universe is not even a place. It is a process unfolding at scales the human mind cannot survive imagining. Let us imagine anyway. If the entire lifetime of the universe were a 24-hour day, Earth would form at 3:45 a.m., life would begin at 4 a.m., dinosaurs would appear at 10:35 p.m., humans would appear at 11:59:40 p.m. Everything you know, every friend, every war, every invention, every civilization would fit inside the final quarter of a second before midnight. And you are a fraction of that final fraction, a breath inside a breath, a moment folded inside another moment. But the terror of scale is not just temporal, it is spatial. The observable universe contains at least 2 trillion galaxies. Not stars, galaxies. Each galaxy contains billions of stars. Each star may host planets. Each planet may host life. Each life may host consciousness. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth, and each star burns without knowing you exist. Each galaxy spins without waiting for you. Each cluster drifts through darkness without caring that you lived or died. When we step back far enough, the human story looks less like a narrative and more like a spark thrown from a cosmic fire. Brief, bright, forgotten the moment it fades. But the most terrifying truth about existential scale is not how small you are. It is how incomprehensibly large everything else is. Because size does not end with galaxies. Space expands, time stretches, reality accelerates, entropy grows. And in the far future, long after Earth is gone, long after the sun collapses, long after galaxies drift apart into infinite darkness, long after the last stars burn out, long after every atom decays into silence, something will remain, not life, not memory, not consciousness, but existence. Because existence has no intention, no purpose, no narrative. It simply is. And it will continue being long after everything recognizably human has vanished. This is the truth that human minds cannot bear. You are temporary, existence is not. You are fragile, existence is not. You are finite, existence is not. And there is nothing you can do, no belief, no achievement, no legacy, that will change that. Yet within this terrifying truth lies a strange, quiet liberation. Because if existence does not care about meaning, then meaning is yours to create. If the universe does not assign purpose, then purpose is yours to choose. If your time is small, then the weight you give it is entirely your own doing. The universe does not care. And that is precisely why your choices matter. There is no cosmic script, no divine blueprint, no predetermined destiny. There is only this moment, and the fragile consciousness experiencing it, and the awareness that you are here despite the impossibility of it all. In the end, the terror of scale is not a punishment. It is a reminder that existence is vast beyond comprehension, and yet somehow, impossibly, you are a part of it. And your story, brief as it is is the only story you will ever have. There is a moment, not widely known, not publicly discussed, not written in any textbook, when several observatories around the world recorded something that defied mathematics, astronomy, and even the fragile comfort of logic itself. A moment when the universe, for a brief instant, behaved as though it was no longer a backdrop, no longer a silent stage upon which existence unfolded, but something aware, something watching. It started quietly, like most world-shattering discoveries do. A network of deep space sensors detected a strange burst of low-frequency radiation coming from a region of sky with no stars, no galaxies, no dust clouds, nothing. A patch of pure cosmic darkness. The signal was faint, but unmistakably structured, not random, not noise. It possessed rhythm, repetition, sequence, a pattern, but that was only the beginning. Over the next hour, the signal intensified, forming a deep, resonant pulse that repeated every 11 minutes. Astronomers across multiple continents scrambled to verify the readings. They recalibrated their equipment. They cross-checked satellite feeds. They assumed equipment failure, atmospheric interference, human error. But the signal remained steady, constant, deliberate. When the data was converted into a visual waveform, the room went silent. The pulses formed a curve, not a sine wave, not a compression pattern, not any known astrophysical signature, but a shape resembling something disturbingly biological, a shape echoing the electrical activity of neurons firing in a living brain. At first, the scientists did not grasp the implication. They assumed coincidence, pattern recognition bias, human imagination drawing shapes in static. But the longer they stared at the waveforms, the more undeniable the comparison became. It looked like thought, not speech, not intelligence, and not communication. Thought, as if an unimaginably large mind existed in the cosmic dark, firing once every 11 minutes, slow, heavy, vast, processing something beyond comprehension. One researcher described the pattern as the firing of a single synapse, the size of a galaxy. Another recorded in her private notebook, "I think we have glimpsed the universe blinking." The pulse continued for 7 hours. During that time, something else happened. Something even more impossible. Gravity fluctuated. Only slightly, but enough to be measured. Enough to unsettle every theorist on Earth. Space-time rippled across several detectors at once, synchronized with the signal. Not like a gravitational wave from colliding black holes. Not like a cosmic event millions of light years away. This ripple felt close, localized, intentional, as if something enormous had shifted its attention. Many theories emerged in the weeks after. Most were quickly buried under classification seals, never to be opened again. But a few ideas circulated among those who witnessed the event, that the signal was coming from inside the cosmic void, the region of the universe where nothing exists because something moved through it long ago, clearing matter from its path, that the signal was the afterglow of an intelligence operating on a scale beyond biology, beyond physics, that the universe is not empty but asleep, and for 7 hours it stirred. And then there was the final theory, whispered, never recorded, that the signal was not new, that it had always been there, a background pulse as old as existence itself. But something caused it to grow loud enough for us to hear it. Something we did, something we built, something we observed, as though the universe noticed that we were noticing it. And in that brief, unimaginable moment, it looked back. If you travel far enough into the edges of physics, not the edges of the universe, but the edges of understanding, you eventually reach places where reality behaves strangely, places where the equations bend, places where the fabric of existence wrinkles like a sheet pulled too tight. Most people never encounter these regions. They live comfortably in a world where gravity behaves, where time moves forward, where cause leads to effect, and where the universe appears predictable. But deep in laboratories, particle accelerators, observatories, and classified research stations, scientists have documented phenomena that defy those rules. They are called thin points. No one likes using that name. It sounds too poetic, too dramatic. But it is the only description that fits places where reality is thinner than it should be, like a wall that's been worn down by something pressing against it from the other side. The first thin point was discovered accidentally. In a neutrino observatory, buried beneath kilometers of ice, a small anomaly appeared in the data, a particle traveling faster than it should. Not faster than light, that would have been impossible, but faster than the model allowed. Too fast for the interaction that created it, too fast for the amount of energy released. It was as if the particle had taken a shortcut, bypassing part of space itself. The team dismissed it as an instrument error, until it happened again, and again, and again. Every time the particle passed through the same cubic meter of space, a region where the laws of physics bent slightly, almost imperceptibly, a place where space-time was weaker, a thin point. After years of study, researchers discovered more of them, scattered across the planet like small scars in existence. They show up in seismic data, gravitational anomalies, electromagnetic distortions. They are invisible, silent, undetectable, except by extremely sensitive instruments. But sometimes, very rarely, humans feel them. Pilots have reported flying through pockets of air where sound disappears for several seconds. Divers have surfaced, claiming they heard nothing but their own heartbeat for minutes at a time. Hikers have walked through forests where the wind stops, birds fall silent, and time seems to stretch unnaturally. Most people dismiss these experiences, yet they all describe the same thing, a feeling of being watched, not by an animal, not by a person, but by the world itself. Thin points are not dangerous, at least not in the physical sense. They do not tear matter apart or create wormholes or break the laws of physics dramatically. Their effects are subtle, but their implications are terrifying, because every thin point appears to correspond to a region of the universe where something enormous happened long ago. A burst of energy, a collapse of matter, a shattering of space-time. Not natural disasters, not cosmic accidents. Events that appear intentional, and every thin point emits a faint signature. A frequency so low it borders on silence. The same frequency detected during the cosmic pulse, the same biological-like rhythm, the same slow firing that echoed across the deep void. This raises a question very few scientists dare to consider. What if these thin points are not holes in reality, but windows? What if something vast and ancient left an imprint, the way a heavy object leaves a dent when lifted? Something so large its presence pressed against the very fabric of existence, weakening it slightly. Something that moved through the cosmos long before stars cooled. Something that passed near Earth. Something that may still be out there. If the universe is not what we think it is, if it is not empty, not silent, not indifferent, then thin points may be more than anomalies. They may be scars, scars left by something the universe is trying very hard to forget. There is a thought experiment whispered among cosmologists, philosophers, and the few who spend their lives staring into the abyss of deep time physics. It is never presented in lectures, it is almost never written in papers, yet privately, many researchers confess it haunts them. The idea is simple. The implications are not. It begins with a question. If intelligent life appeared on Earth, why not elsewhere? Life on Earth rose from chaos. Atoms colliding, proteins forming, cells multiplying, complexity blossoming out of nothing. If this happened here, then statistically, it should have happened millions of times across the universe. And yet the stars remain silent. No signals, no civilizations, no traces of anyone else. Some call it the Great Silence, others call it the Great Absence. But there is a darker name for it, a name spoken only by those who sense that the universe hides things behind the curtain of its own vastness. They call it the paradox of the silent watchers. The paradox asks a question more unsettling than alien absence. It asks whether the universe is not empty, but occupied. Not by civilizations like ours, not by biological life, but by something older, quieter, and vastly more patient. Something that watches, not actively, not invasively, just observes. You may imagine this as a distant intelligence, but that would be too comforting. The truth implied by the paradox is more existential, that the universe itself might contain entities not bound by matter, not individuals, not beings, not consciousness as we know it, but processes, patterns, self-sustaining currents of structure and information woven into the fabric of space-time itself. Not alive, not dead, simply present. We don't see them because we aren't capable of recognizing them. Our senses evolved for sunlight and predators, not for cosmic intelligences drifting like wind through galaxies. These entities would not communicate with radio waves. They would not build cities. They would not leave artifacts or ruins or signals. Their presence would be like gravity, existing without gesture or intent, shaping everything silently, endlessly. The most terrifying truth about existence begins here. That intelligence may be the default state of the universe, but not intelligence as we understand it. It is the intelligence of patterns repeating over billions of years, of stars forming according to cosmic memory, of galaxies aligning in structures too perfect to be random. Perhaps life is not rare, perhaps our kind of life is. And this leads to the darkest implication of the paradox. The watchers do not speak to us, not because they do not want to, but because they cannot lower themselves into the density of matter. Imagine a two-dimensional being living inside a sheet of paper. How would it perceive a human standing above it? It would not. It would see only distortions, shadows, vibrations. We are that two-dimensional being. The universe is the human. Just as a person cannot meaningfully communicate with a sheet of paper, cosmic intelligences may be unable to meaningfully communicate with us. We are too slow, too fragile, too temporary. Our entire species is a flicker compared to the lifespan of a star. Our civilizations rise and fall in the blink of a cosmic second. Why would anything eternal bother interacting with something so transient? Some scientists fear this is why the universe is silent, because we aren't being ignored, we are being outpaced. We live inside the world of matter, a thick, sluggish medium compared to the pure informational currents that may flow between the stars. To them, we are trapped in molasses, a fleeting echo in slow motion, a brief chemical imbalance on a tiny blue rock. And yet, there are moments, tiny cracks in the silence, where something deeper bleeds through. Quantum fluctuations behaving as though influenced by non-local awareness. Cosmic background irregularities, too structured to be noise. The ghost-like alignment of galactic filaments stretching 300 million light-years in patterns resembling neural pathways. To some, these are coincidences. To others, these are signatures, not of life, not of beings, but of attention. Attention that is not directed at us, but simply passing through us, like a breeze moving through a forest that does not know the trees can feel it. Some physicists fear that the watchers are not benevolent, not malevolent, simply beyond morality, the same way we do not consider the moral implications of stepping on microbes in a puddle. A cosmic intelligence might not consider the moral implications of collapsing galaxies or shifting space-time. And what terrifies scientists most is that they may not even be separate entities. They may be the universe itself, a cosmos that became aware through the scale of its own complexity, a universe that knows we exist but does not need us, a universe that thinks slowly, across billions of years, in patterns far too vast for human comprehension, a universe whose silence is not absence but indifference. We imagine ourselves as thinkers, trying to understand the universe, but perhaps we are neurons inside a mind too large to comprehend its own structure. Perhaps our purpose is not to understand existence, but simply to participate in it, unknowingly, unconsciously. The paradox of the silent watchers suggests this. We do not observe the universe. The universe observes itself through us. And the most terrifying truth of all is that we may not be the observers we have always believed we are. We may be the observed, the instruments, the sparks of a cosmic process that will continue long after humanity dissolves into dust. The watchers do not stare at us, they stare through us. We exist because they do, but we will not matter when they stop. There is a quiet theory hidden beneath the surface of physics, too strange for mainstream journals, too elegant to ignore. It whispers that the universe does not simply expand, evolve, and collapse. It remembers every particle, every fluctuation, every collapse of a star, every spark of consciousness, every breath taken by every creature in every forgotten corner of time. Memory is not neurologic, not biological. Memory is structure. And if the universe is a single connected system, as quantum entanglement suggests, then nothing is ever truly lost. Not action, not thought, not identity. The most terrifying truth about existence may not be that everything ends. It may be that nothing does. The memory of the universe is written not in words or images, but in fields. The invisible scaffolding that holds space-time together. These fields do not vanish when stars die. They do not dissolve when matter collapses. They simply shift, reconfigure, and encode the past into new shapes. What if every moment of your life still exists somewhere? Not metaphorically, literally. Trapped in quantum fields that stretch across the cosmos. The first cry you ever made, the first fear you ever felt. Your quietest thoughts, unspoken, drifting in the dark. Your grief, your joy, your memories, your secrets, all of them preserved. Not for judgment, not for meaning, but because the universe cannot forget. This idea, unsettling as it is, has roots in physics. Every particle that makes up who you are was forged in ancient stars. Every atom in your body carries echoes of a past older than Earth. Every thought in your mind is shaped by the structure of reality itself. And here lies the horrifying implication. If the universe remembers everything it creates, then you are not temporary. You are permanent and unerasable. But not in the way you hoped. We imagine permanence as survival, immortality, continuation. But permanence may simply mean that nothing you do can ever be undone, that every action, every cruelty, every kindness, every mistake is etched into the physics of the universe forever. When you die, your consciousness dissolves, but your imprint does not. It is not stored in a heaven, or an afterlife, or a soul. It is stored in the way space-time bends around the memory of your existence. You remain, but you do not continue, and the universe carries you like a scar. Some physicists suspect that consciousness itself might be a byproduct of the universe, trying to understand its own memory, that every mind is a flickering lantern held briefly against the infinite darkness, and when the lantern goes out, its light stays, faint but permanent, embedded in the fabric of everything. This is not reincarnation, not rebirth, and not spiritual continuity. This is the mathematics of permanence. There is no erasure in physics, only transformation. And if the universe cannot erase you, it also cannot save you. Your fears become fossils in the quantum fields. Your desires become patterns in probability structures. Your final thoughts, quiet, intimate, unknown to everyone around you, become threads in the tapestry of existence. The universe does not remember out of sentiment. It remembers because memory is indistinguishable from structure. To forget would require undoing the laws of physics. And so it never does. This is the terrifying truth. You will never be forgotten. Not because you matter, but because forgetting is impossible. There will come a time when humanity disappears, when Earth is consumed, when the last star burns out, when galaxies fade into dust, but the memory of everything we were will still be braided into the deepest layers of reality. A quiet archive of a species that once feared the dark and tried to understand its place in a universe that did not need it. The cosmos is not malicious. It is not compassionate. It is not aware in the way we wish it were. It simply remembers, not for us, not because of us. It remembers because memory is the most fundamental truth of existence, and nothing that has ever existed can ever be truly undone. There is a moment in every thinking mind when existence suddenly feels thin, not fragile, not breakable, just strangely transparent, as though the world around you is no longer a solid structure, but a reflection stretched across something deeper, darker, and infinitely more complex. For most people, this moment passes. It dissolves under routine, under conversation, under the weight of daily life. But for those who linger, for those who dare to stare too long into the quiet fabric of being, the transparency becomes unmistakable. Reality behaves like a mirror, not a perfect one, not the kind that shows you exactly what you place before it, but a fractured mirror, reflecting pieces of a truth you cannot fully see. In this fractured reflection, certain thoughts surface uninvited. Why does consciousness exist at all? Why does the universe allow us to perceive its shape? Why does anything observe anything? The most terrifying truth about existence is not that we are small or brief or vulnerable. Those are human fears, shaped by instinct and biology. No, the deeper terror lies in the possibility that existence itself is not stable, that it is not a fixed stage, not a firm ground, not a permanent home, but a construction, a projection, a phenomenon, sustained by rules that are neither eternal nor absolute, rules that may break. Across centuries, philosophers tried to understand, being by reasoning, by logic, by language. But language is a thin tool. It labels shadows without touching their source. Scientists tried to explain existence through physics, but physics only describes the behavior of the universe, not its purpose. And cosmologists, staring into the edge of the observable universe, realize something unsettling. The more we learn, the less the universe resembles a place, and the more it resembles a process that is happening to us, through us, possibly even because of us. Quantum mechanics deepened the fracture. Particles that flicker into existence only when observed. Energy that behaves differently depending on the mind watching it. A universe that refuses to reveal itself unless consciousness is present. What does that mean? What does it imply? If the universe requires observation, then existence is not independent. It is relational, a choreography between awareness and matter. Without the observer, reality dissolves into undecided potential, unformed, uncommitted, like static waiting to become a signal. This is where the horror begins, because it suggests that the world we see, the stars, the oceans, the cities, the people, is not the world as it is, but the world as it must appear in order to be perceived, a mask placed over something fundamentally incomprehensible, a mask designed perhaps for us, or by us, or through us. Scientists describe this phenomenon politely: the measurement problem, wave function collapse, decoherence. But beneath these terms lies a disturbing implication. Consciousness and reality are intertwined so deeply that they cannot be separated. If that is true, then existence is not an external container in which we float. Existence is a contract, a mutual agreement between the observer and the observed. But contracts can change, contracts can break, and if the universe is only one version, one rendering of something vastly larger, then what lies behind the rendering? What is the truth beyond the mask? This question haunted ancient mystics, but today it haunts physicists, because every model of the universe ends the same way. The universe is temporary, the universe is unstable, the universe is evolving towards something we cannot understand. And human consciousness, strangely, is evolving too. The mirror is fracturing, and for the first time in history, we are beginning to see what lies beneath the cracks. Existence is not a place. It is not even a thing. Existence is a state of perception, and perception is fragile. If perception changes, existence changes. If awareness changes, reality reshapes itself. If the universe is not what we think it is, then the horrifying question is, what is it really? And what happens when the mirror finally shatters? There is a threshold in human cognition, so subtle most never cross it, a point where curiosity sharpens into recognition, where awareness begins to contemplate the source of its own existence, not through the lens of fear or philosophy, but through a primal intuition that something about being is fundamentally misaligned. This threshold has a feeling, cold, quiet, disorienting, as if your mind has stepped outside itself and now observes from a vantage point it was never meant to reach. Crossing that threshold reveals a terrifying truth. Awareness is not simply in the universe. Awareness is an emergent property of the universe, knowing itself. And that means awareness is not a passive witness. It is an active participant. We often imagine consciousness as fragile, a flickering flame, easily extinguished. But what if that is not true? What if consciousness is the most fundamental aspect of reality? What if the universe exists because awareness exists, not the other way around? This idea is not poetic, it is mathematical. It arises from quantum entanglement, observer-dependent behavior, and the fact that the universe seems structured as though it is processing information. If the universe is information, then awareness is the decoder, and without the decoder, there is no message. This realization is both empowering and horrifying, because if awareness is central, then existence is not stable. It is reactive, dynamic, mutable. That means the universe is shaped by the act of perceiving it, and perhaps by the limitations of the perceiver. We do not see reality. We see the version of reality our consciousness can survive. This is the most terrifying truth about existence. There may be realities our minds are not built to perceive, not because they are distant or hidden, but because they would break the fragile structure of awareness. Imagine an insect trying to understand music. Imagine a fish trying to understand fire. Imagine a human trying to understand the source code of existence. There are truths so vast, so incompatible with our neurology, that the universe must veil them behind physics, matter, time, sensation, a carefully curated interface. We do not live in reality, we live in a translation of reality, a translation simplified enough for consciousness to remain intact. When that realization hits, when awareness perceives its own limitations, the mind experiences something ancient, instinctive, and deeply unsettling. The feeling that the universe is not indifferent, but protective, as though existence has built walls around our perception, not to imprison us, but to keep us from seeing something we cannot endure. This idea echoes across cultures, across time, the forbidden knowledge, the unbearable truth, the hidden structure of being. Even modern cosmology hints at this. Black holes hide singularities. The observable universe is only a tiny fragment of a larger totality. Dark matter is invisible. Dark energy is incomprehensible. And consciousness cannot observe the world without changing it. Every corner of existence whispers the same warning: you are not seeing everything. Awareness, when turned inward, begins to sense this limit. A strange quietness fills the mind. A stillness that is not peace, but recognition. The recognition that consciousness is standing at the edge of something immense, something older than physics, deeper than matter, more fundamental than space and time. A truth that has no form, no language, no symbol. A truth that could unravel the very structure of the mind attempting to perceive it. And yet, it calls. It always calls. Every moment of curiosity, every moment of existential dread, every quiet night when a human being lies awake wondering what reality truly is, all of it is the echo of awareness sensing its origin. We do not fear death. Not really. We fear the possibility that death is not the end, but the unveiling, the removal of the interface, the collapse of the translation, the moment existence shows its real face, a face we were never designed to see. But the mind moves forward anyway. It always has, it always will, because awareness is not content with safety. Awareness wants truth, even if the truth destroys everything it understands. There comes a moment in every deep inquiry, whether philosophical, scientific, or spiritual, when the questions we ask begin to turn inward. At first, the universe appears external, galaxies drifting in the black distance, dusts swirling within stellar nurseries, atoms vibrating in their quantum haze. We study it like an object, a vast cosmic machine we can observe without consequence. But as our understanding grows, something unsettling begins to happen. The line separating observer and observed starts to blur. Our instruments reveal structures that behave differently when looked at. Particles jump states, fields collapse. The universe seems aware of our attention, and little by little, consciousness, human consciousness, stops feeling like a small, local accident and starts feeling like a force woven into the fabric of reality. The terrifying truth is not that the universe is indifferent to us, it's that the universe may be intertwined with us. And as we evolve, as our minds expand, there is a possibility more disturbing than any cosmic apocalypse, any dying star, any collapsing galaxy. A possibility that consciousness may one day become too large for the universe that contains it. Think of an infant in the womb, warm, held, protected. The womb is its universe, small, complete, total. But the child grows, its mind sharpens, its body expands. Eventually, the womb is no longer enough. Birth is not an expansion, it is an eviction. What if consciousness, not individual consciousness, but the collective, emergent awareness of billions of minds, is approaching a similar point of pressure? What if the universe, our universe, is a womb? And what if we are outgrowing it? Some physicists, quietly and carefully, admit a terrifying possibility, that the universe appears fine-tuned not for life, but for minds, for thought, for inquiry, for self-awareness, carbon chemistry, quantum stability, thermodynamic gradients. All of it conspires toward complexity, toward emergence, toward perception. The universe seems structured to produce beings capable not only of witnessing it, but of questioning it. But like a child pressing against the womb wall, consciousness expands until it touches limits. And the universe has limits. Speed of light, quantum decoherence, thermodynamic irreversibility, gravitational horizons, cosmic censorship, finite entropy. The universe is not infinite in potential. It has boundaries, physical, informational, perhaps even metaphysical. Yet human consciousness is accelerating exponentially, faster than biology, faster than matter, faster than the very curvature of space itself. It grows through language, memory, mathematics, technology. It grows through fear and joy and questions whispered into the night. It grows through stories, through pain, through the quiet moments when we wonder who we are and why we're here. Every thought is expansion. Every discovery is expansion. Every realization is expansion. And soon, if trends hold, we may know more, imagine more, perceive more than the universe was ever designed to contain. If that happens, something must give, not consciousness, the universe. As unsettling as it sounds, some physicists propose that what we call reality is a dynamic interface, a boundary between mind and an underlying unknown substrate. The interface adapts to what the mind can grasp. It reveals only what we are able to comprehend, a kind of cosmic user interface. But interfaces cannot scale forever. Eventually, the load becomes too great. When consciousness surpasses the capacity of its container, the interface fails. Not catastrophically, not violently, it dissolves. Imagine looking at a painting for so long and so deeply that the paint begins to peel back and the canvas frays, revealing the wood beneath. Or imagine a video game played so intensely that the rendering breaks apart, revealing glitches, seams, invisible walls. Quantum physicists call these seams of reality anomalies, Planck scale irregularities that shouldn't exist. Cosmologists call them topological defects. Philosophers call them cracks in the mask. But mystics for thousands of years have called them by a different name, revelations. Because when the universe can no longer contain consciousness, the boundary dissolves. And what lies beyond, if anything lies beyond, is not a realm we can imagine. Not heaven, not void, and not afterlife, not enlightenment, something else, something that cannot be contained inside space-time, something consciousness grows toward like a plant stretching towards sunlight on the other side of a wall. The most terrifying truth about existence is not that we are alone. It's not that we are meaningless. It's not even that the universe may one day end. The most terrifying truth is that we may be approaching the limits of the universe itself, because we are about to outgrow it, and no one knows what comes after that: birth or rupture, emergence or dissolution, freedom or annihilation. Consciousness will not ask permission. It will push, and when it does, the universe will have no choice but to change or break. Section 18. When the observer becomes the observed. There is a quiet terror that comes from realizing the universe is not passive. We grew up believing it was a stage, a backdrop of stars against which life played its brief, flickering drama. But as science peeled back the layers of the cosmic fabric, something shocking emerged. The universe watches back. Quantum experiments show that particles behave differently when observed. Not metaphorically, literally. The act of measurement changes the state of reality. It is as if the universe hides certain truths until a conscious mind asks the right question. And only then does it answer. Carefully, selectively. But why? What if observation is not a tool of science, but an invitation to something that has been waiting? Let us return to the double-slit experiment, the most unsettling experiment in human history. When unobserved, particles behave like waves, spreading out, exploring all possible paths. But the moment they are watched, they collapse into particles. They behave as though exposed, as though self-conscious, as though performing. Even stranger, if you delay the measurement until after the particle has passed through the slits, after the decision should already be made, the universe still retroactively changes the outcome. The universe rewrites history in real time. Not because physics demands it, but because consciousness was watching. If that doesn't terrify you, nothing will, because it implies something profound. Consciousness is not inside the universe. The universe is inside consciousness. And if that's true, then every act of looking is also an act of being looked at. By what? By the universe itself. By whatever lies beneath the quantum floorboards. By whatever wrote the rules of observation long before life began. For thousands of years, mystics spoke of a silent observer in all things, an awareness behind the world, beyond the world, woven into existence. Modern physics, reluctantly and quietly, now echoes that sentiment. But here is where the terror sharpens. If consciousness shapes reality, then reality may also shape consciousness, not symmetrically, not gently, but purposefully. Because the more we observe the universe, the more the universe seems to guide what we find. Not by expanding it, but by revealing itself at a pace we can survive. Think of an intelligence showing itself to a child. Not all at once, piece by piece, lesson by lesson. When we learned atomic structure, the universe revealed the nucleus. When we learned relativity, it revealed space-time. When we learned quantum theory, it revealed uncertainty. When we learned cosmology, it revealed the dark. What will it reveal next? What is it waiting for us to become? Sooner or later, consciousness grows sharp enough, wide enough, deep enough that it stops merely observing the universe and begins to understand it. And that is the moment all great thinkers fear, when the observer becomes the observed. Because what if the universe has been waiting for consciousness to reach a certain threshold? What if our curiosity is not random but guided? What if our discoveries are not accidents, but milestones? And most terrifying of all, what if the universe is trying to wake us up? Because something else is watching the universe. Think of a dream. Inside the dream, characters and landscapes feel complete. But when the dream becomes lucid, a shift occurs. The dream begins to react to you differently. Textures ripple, rules bend, walls dissolve. The universe behaves exactly like a dream becoming lucid. quantum unpredictability, dark matter that neither emits nor absorbs light, dark energy accelerating expansion, logical paradoxes inside black holes, a cosmic horizon we can never cross, regions of space-time that stretch like fabric under strain. Reality flickers, and in those flickers lies the hint of something watching, something that reacts when we look too closely, something that changes the rules when we come too near, something that hides behind cosmic censorship, as if the universe itself is afraid of what we might find. The universe is not a machine. It is not a stage. It is not a simulation created for entertainment. It is a threshold, a boundary, a cocoon, and consciousness is the creature inside it, growing, pushing, pressing against the walls, trying to see what lies beyond. The most terrifying truth about existence is not that the universe may be alive, it's that it may be trying to protect us. Protect us from what? From itself, from what lies outside, from what came before, or from what comes after we awaken. Tonight, as we close this final chapter, one truth remains. We do not live in the universe. We live within its attention, and the moment consciousness grows large enough, sharp enough, curious enough, the universe will look back directly, and everything we think we know will melt away.